The Battlefield 6 campaign releases on Friday, and before it does, I want to cover the story information that you need to know about Battlefield 6 so you can hop right into the multiplayer, or you can dive into the campaign and explore a little bit further. So let's cover everything we know about the Battlefield 6 campaign, starting with the brand new character who's basically Captain Price, but American, leading Dagger 1-3, the elite Marine Raiders team in the Battlefield 6 campaign. Captain Haz Carter. Now, Haz Carter is a former high school quarterback. The cheers of the crowd, the bright lights, throwing touchdown passes, everything that he was really good at in life, he gave up to go join the Marines. He was a NFL caliber quarterback, but he said that wasn't for him. He wanted to go make a difference and join the Marines. Now, he's basically Captain Price incarnate, but American, and he's leading Dagger 1-3, the squad that is really the heroes of the entire game. But Haz Carter has taken under his wing Dylan Murphy, the protege and seemingly replacement for Haz Carter if anything happens to him. And it's pretty safe to assume from everything we know so far, Haz Carter won't make it through the campaign. So he's been training Dylan Murphy to be his replacement. Now, Dylan Murphy is unique. He actually has a college degree and turned down an officer job because he wanted to be in the field. He wanted to travel the world, meet interesting people, and then kill those same interesting people. He is the protege and the engineer for the unit, seeking to replace Haz Carter if anything was to ever happen to him. He's kind of level-headed, strategic, but kind of a stark contrast to Simone Gecko Espacina. Now, Gecko is the team's sniper, their recon. She grew up in Montana on her grandfather's farm, learning to hunt, learning how to track animals, taking all those skills that she learned her entire life and transforming them into being, quite honestly, probably the best sniper in Battlefield history. However, she can be hot-headed, she can fight her teammates, she can disagree with them, and she is bold and wants to do what's right no matter what, which causes some problems between her and Dylan Murphy. But the man who balances everything out, who holds the team together, is actually Cliff Lopez. Now, Cliff Lopez wears his heart on his sleeve. He's very emotional, but under control. He's trying to keep the team together so they can accomplish their mission. He cares about everyone so deeply that you can see it in any interaction in the game. But he actually has kind of an interesting background. His parents wanted him to go to med school, and he said, I don't really want to do that. I want to join the military. So they compromised. He joined the military as a medic. And he quite literally became a pharmacist. He can take people's lives or save their lives depending on what kind of mood he's in. But he is really the glue that holds the team together, and at certain moments throughout the campaign, you can kind of see that he loses it a little bit when he gets angry or overly upset, because he is the guy who has to hold the team together and make sure everyone is okay. And at some point in the campaign, with a certain character, he is unable to save their life and takes it very personally that his skills as a medic were the sole cause of what happened. Now, alongside these four characters, the assistant character who later comes in and joins the squad is Lucas Hemlock. Nothing is known about him. He always wears a mask. He is quite literally the meme. Hey mom, can we get Ghost? No, we have Ghost at home. That's Lucas Hemlock. Now, he's a pretty cool character, pretty level-headed, very much exactly like Ghost, but unlike Ghost, he can pilot helicopters, he can fill any role in the team when needed, and he's the kind of newest addition to Dagger 1-3 that helps form this kind of elite squad at the end of the game, but we'll talk about that separately. Now, the villain of the game, who's kind of the main villain, but not really, is Alexander Quincaid. He is the commander of the Pax Armata military. He's the guy who we're fighting against throughout the entire campaign. But he is not the owner or CEO of Pax Armata. He's just the guy who's in charge of their military units. That in mind, he is also holding a very personal grudge against NATO. Not entirely sure why, but he has some type of accent from either Ireland or the UK that indicates that he at one time was part of NATO, but there's burns on his face, kind of emotional scarring to go along with that physical scarring that indicates that he's really not a good guy and he's holding a grudge against NATO for a very specific reason. Now, he's leading Pax Armata, he's on the field, he's in combat situations, and he is not afraid to get in a firefight with the Marine Raider team at any point throughout the game. And he is not afraid to use the massive stockpiles of weapons of mass destruction that Pax Armata owns. But what is the driving factor? What kicked off the story? What is the actual story of the game? And, well, it all comes down to this. The Secretary General of NATO was mysteriously assassinated in 2028 in the world of Battlefield 6. Now, in response, NATO did nothing. They didn't send anybody to investigate, they didn't send anybody to try to figure out what was going on or hunt down the killer. Now, if you're thinking Pax Armata might have killed the General Secretary to advance their own causes, you're probably right. But with that in mind, after the death of the General Secretary of NATO, Pax Armata's prices surged. Their stock price increased exponentially, and as a matter of fact, most of the EU countries left NATO entirely to join Pax Armata. But Pax Armata is not based out of a country that is controlled by NATO. They exist in the country of Tajikistan, whatever, however you say it. I don't know. I'm from Texas. I can't pronunciate that to save my life. But regardless, they're in a country that is right next to China and just below Russia, which kind of ties into who's running it, the Archangel Corporation, and their goals. But don't worry, I have a video talking about that tomorrow and really the real villains of Battlefield 6. But what's important to know is that it seems like Pax Armata was seemingly formed under the CIA's watchful gaze. One of the things I talk about in the campaign trailers is that the CIA was kind of in charge of Pax Armata to some extent for some small period of time. Or at least they knew what Pax Armata was up to before Pax Armata actually did things. And similar to NATO, it seems like the CIA might have refused to react. So where does that leave us? Following the death of the General Secretary, much of the EU countries leave NATO, and they start turning to Pax Armata for private military funding and protection. Now, Pax Armata surges in stock prices, they get a bunch of mercenaries under their control, and they start occupying bases in all of these different EU countries that had defected. But Pax Armata is not just about bringing down NATO. Their goal is to shake up and reestablish a new world order with Pax Armata at the helm, kind of guiding all these countries together and helping to stop conflicts because Pax Armata would be in charge of all of the conflicts. And they're trying to bring down the remaining countries in NATO. And by doing this, they're bringing the attacks to home by attacking the Rock of Gibraltar, a key point formerly controlled by the British, which controls access to the Mediterranean. And with many of the EU countries in the Mediterranean wanting control of it, it makes sense for Pax Armata to attack it and try to take it over. But the Rock of Gibraltar is under NATO control, thus creating one of the conflicts in the game. Now, there's also the conflict in Cairo. Something is going on in Egypt that Pax Armata is trying to go there for some reason. And as a response, there is a massive tank battle there. But the kind of biggest news is that America, who's kind of holding together NATO at this point, the last really bastion of superpowers in the world after the events of Battlefield 4, are targeted by Pax Armata, and Pax Armata sends a full-on invasion to Brooklyn, New York. And one of the things they do in the campaign is they actually load up a train with some type of weapon of mass destruction and put it on rails into the heart of Brooklyn. Similar to what happened in Battlefield 3 when Blackburn tried to stop Solomon from doing the same thing with a nuke. On top of that, though, there's actually a fleet that Pax Armata sails into the bay. They're trying to control Brooklyn altogether, and they actually start missile striking American bases across the East Coast, trying to pave the way for a full-on invasion of America and to carve out a spot inside New York, the kind of pinnacle of what people think of when they see America, and control it. By doing so, they actually start, which is going to be a month-long battle for the heart of New York, and we know this because Battlefield 6 has already shown us the planned Season 1 maps and such, and one of them is a winter map in Brooklyn, New York that basically states they're still fighting in Brooklyn, New York after the events of the campaign. So the campaign does not really resolve anything, but it weakens Pax Armata for enough time that American can kind of get their feet back underneath them before they go back to war with Pax Armata. And that kind of brings up to where we are at the campaign launch. The campaign launch is going to focus on liberating these areas controlled by Pax Armata and stopping their invasion, as well as hunting down Alexander Quincaid. But Quincaid is not in control of Pax Armata, and if you want to know who the real villain is, subscribe for my video coming out tomorrow talking about everything you need to know.